Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. Tensions between Turkey and Greece, already at their highest in years, are now entering a more dangerous phase. A decision by Athens to openly station troops on Meis Island, just 2 kilometers from Turkish shores, explicitly violates past treaties that have kept the peace for decades. A spokesperson from Turkey's foreign ministry condemned the move, warning that if Greece continues with its actions, it'll, quote, suffer from them. Turkey's foreign minister also came out with a stern warning. Late last month, Greece announced it would extend its continental shelf to 12 miles on its western coast in the Ionian Sea. Turkey has warned that if Greece does the same on its east in the Aegean Sea, it will lead to war. All are just the latest in a series of disputes that have flared up in the eastern Mediterranean this year, where a turf battle over lucrative energy reserves is reigniting old rivalries and creating tensions not seen in decades. And joining me now from Girne is Huseyin Isiksal. He is a professor of international relations at Near East University. And joining me from New York, Meirowitz, who is an associate professor at the SUNY Maritime College. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So in the course of the last 40 years between Turkey and Greece, we have seen various standoffs. The two have come to the brink of war for a couple of times because of the tensions in the Aegean. Now tensions are flaring up in the eastern Mediterranean. Mark, is this latest round different? Are we closer to something that we have never seen before?
The tension between Greece and Turkey is since time immemorial. There have been good times, there have been not such good times, and I expect that this will be resolved. There is no time now during COVID for armed conflicts or other conflicts in the Eastern Mediterranean. The law of the sea is convoluted and needs to be resolved. These issues can be resolved, but it's not a simple thing. But I would add one last quick point, and that is, you might remember in history that the Prime Minister Venizelos of Greece nominated Ataturk for the Nobel Prize. So you know what? Everybody lives in the region. The problem is one group is getting together against Turkey and Turkey's rights, and I think Turkey's rights should be respected. That's very important, and we need to do that in order to have a fair discussion of how to resolve these issues.
We also all know that the latest flashpoint surrounds the recent discoveries of potential energy deposits in the eastern Mediterranean. So Huseyin, what do you make of Greece's military deployments to the island of Meis? Are they trying to provoke Turkey?
Actually, yes. But regarding your earlier question, which I think is very important, I think the problem that is standing at the core of the issue is still standing there. So that's why whether two countries' relationship goes ups and down doesn't make too much difference, because they didn't sort out the problem at the core of the problem, which is maritime jurisdiction areas, which is Aegean issue, and which is Cyprus issue. So in this respect, I think that the Greece will never refrain from its claims that seeing Eastern Mediterranean as its own lake. And in this respect, because of the spoiling of the European Union, Greece is continuing its policies, because in this respect, I should definitely underline that EU is not and cannot be a fair arbitrator.
I'm gonna get into the international community's reaction, but if you could just answer my question, what do you make of Greece's military deployments to the island of Meis? Because do you think it will, in the future, affect the status of the 12 islands?
Actually, yes, but my point is that the Greece is trying to provocate Turkey. So in this respect, it's not because of Greece will use its limited military sources against Turkey, but it's just trying to provocate Turkey to make further attempts. So it tried to justify its position that is its claim that Turkey is breaking the international law, and it will try to take further support from the international community. So I think it's just part of the game.
So, Mark, France has been militarily supporting Greece and the Greek Cypriot administration against Ankara, and has lately adopted a very, very hostile language against Ankara. What's your take on that? And if two NATO allies were to engage militarily, how would it serve for France as well as for the North Atlantic Organization?
I go back to my earlier point. The New York Times editorial on this was very, very clear. Two NATO allies fighting together is inconceivable. The problem that you have here, I think, is a matter of taking seriously Turkey's claims for its continental shelf and Turkey's treaties and agreements that have been entered into since time immemorial. So to your point about the militarization of the island of Meis, that's unacceptable, and those troops have to be removed. And everybody has to sit down and try to work out something. But the truth is the underlying issue of Cyprus still remains as the issue. So in other words, all the time, I have been to Turkish Cyprus, and I understand this issue very, very well. The Greek Cypriots and Greece have never, I'm going to say, respected Turkey and Turkish Cyprus's positions. And the point you made about the EU, and I do agree with Professor Isiksal, I think he makes a great point about the EU, because look at the situation. Turkey has been trying to be in the EU for years, and then the Republic of Cyprus was admitted to the EU. I mean, that is just something that I just think is a matter of, it's respect, and it's taking seriously a major power in the world, which is Turkey, and its rights as well. So the end of the day is they're going to sit down. I want to mention one other thing. Remember what just happened recently, and I think that's also on the same point, right? So Turkey and Greece were going to sit down, and they're going to negotiate and work on this. And then the next day, and everything was set, and then the next day, Greece entered into an agreement with Egypt to delimit these lines, contradistinction and contrary to the lines done in the Turkey-Libya Accord. So, in other words, these parties have been playing ping pong. We have a ping pong. So I don't know if we played Turkey. I don't remember. Yes, there was ping pong. I was teaching in Turkey, and there were kids playing ping pong. They're pinging and ponging back and forth. Nobody gets anything accomplished. And they have to just stop it. By the way, again, I make this point. American election is coming. Trump is distracted, not available to mediate this. We cannot have conflicts over energy in the Mediterranean. We can solve this issue. Last point. A lot of this has to do with corporations, because the licenses given to the corporations, including Total, the French company, is very, very important as to why France is so excited about this issue. Is because the government in France is getting pressure from the big corporations to let them go and do their exploration for this very alleged big find. By the way, we don't even know if it's a big find yet till we explore it. So everybody has to tone down, and everybody has to work together. And I think that's the best way out. There is no other way out.
So what's the way out of this crisis, Huseyin? The Turkish foreign minister just recently announced that Turkey is open to dialogue. Turkey is ready to sit at the negotiations table. But Greece is dragging its feet. Who do you think it relies on for this attitude?
First of all, when you look at Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis' statements to the international media, you see that he consistently accused Turkey to be not coming to the mediation or dialogue. This is like what the Greek claims, but what we've seen, what's going on in reality is it's just the opposite. Because as noted by the Turkish Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu today, it should be underlined that contrary to what Greek Prime Minister claims, Greece disregards any NATO mediation efforts. So I personally believe that the problem should be and sort out only by dialogue between Greece and Turkey. This should be under only the United Nations mediation or under NATO mediation, under the auspices of Secretary General. And both countries should form the confliction mechanisms. And personally speaking, I believe that it's more related with technical talks.
Yes, but I remember it was never for the EU or the NATO, but the United States. In the past decades, the United States administration played a lead role in mediating between Turkey and Greece. Mark, this question is for you. So where does it stand now, given the upcoming presidential elections and the latest decision to partially lift arms embargoes on southern Cyprus?
This is why I say that this is a very fraught situation for Turkey if it goes forward in terms of this issue. And the reason I say that is we have to look back at 1974 when Turkey went into Cyprus to basically save the Turkish Cypriots and TRNC was set up, etc. What happened? an embargo by the United States against Turkey for 3 years and a tit-for-tat situation where Turkey basically didn't allow the United States to use the bases in Turkey. We can't have this type of situation now with the world situation with China and Russia ascendant. We can't have that. And what I'm concerned about with the election, to be very candid, is that the Congress will not look kindly. And even though I believe that Turkey's claims are legitimate and that Turkey's position should be taken seriously, but as we've seen in the previous Cyprus situation, the U.S. Congress does not, they passed the resolutions on Republic Day in Turkey against Turkey and for sanctions, which basically Trump kind of mitigated. But what I'm trying to get at is, Turkey has to be very circumspect here in dealing with this issue, has to show, as my colleague indicated, its willingness to negotiate this issue by mediation, and that these troops in Meis have to be withdrawn. Look, there are long-standing agreements on these islands. They have to be respected. And the one thing about the United States is it respects international law and international conventions. Now, the interesting thing, and my last point is, neither Turkey nor the U.S. have signed or ratified the Law of the Sea treaties. So that makes it a little bit more complicated.
All right. And lastly, Huseyin, what's next moving forward for Turkey in its region, both in the Aegean and the Eastern Mediterranean?
Yeah, as I repeatedly stress in my interviews and TV programs, Turkey should be in the area, because when you look at the international law, the law always follows the practices. So Turkey should be in the area. Turkey should continue defending its rights and defending Turkey's Cypriot rights, both on land and on the sea. And Turkey should continue its exploration activities. And at the meantime, Turkey should also open to the dialogue, not only with Greece, but also with the neighboring countries, especially with Israel and Egypt. So by this way, I think that the Turkish rightful arguments will find broader support from the international community. But we should keep.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk. Appreciate it a lot. Last year, a group of mothers in Turkey's southeastern city of Diyarbakir began a protest. They directly confronted a political party that has links to terrorism. Today, they're still protesting, demanding their children, who were reportedly kidnapped and forced to join the PKK terror group, be returned. For many parents, it's a grueling ordeal. For those who managed to escape and return home, it's been an eye-opening moment. Haydar Abbasi explains.
The midsummer heat doesn't stop them from coming out to protest. From morning until evening, these parents demand the return of their children. They haven't seen them for years.
Even if my son comes back to my house, I will not end this protest and continue to support these mothers and fathers. We all want our children back here.
For a year now, the families of missing children have been holding a daily protest outside the local offices of the People's Democratic Party, or HDP. They accuse the party of brainwashing their children and recruiting them to the PKK. The HDP is a mainly pro-Kurdish party linked to the PKK terror group. The families say their children were invited to its office by the party's youth branch, but then vanished. They would later discover their children had joined the PKK in Iraq or an affiliate group in Syria. Over the past 40 years, the PKK has been targeting Turkey. It's recognized as a terrorist organization by Turkey, the European Union, and the United States. Ankara says it's behind the killing of more than 40,000 people, including women and children. The HDP says it wants to further the rights of minorities in Turkey, including Kurds. But many of the parents protesting here are Kurdish and say the HDP isn't helping Kurds.
I won't give up until I get my son back from HDP and the PKK. The PKK plays its role on the mountain, and its other flag is the HDP, maintaining this game in the city center. And they are playing with the Kurds. We are very sick of this.
We spoke to someone who was part of the PKK as a teenager and asked why he joined the terror group. His identity has been hidden for security reasons.
I was sensitive and I was brainwashed. and blinded by their ideology. I was young, about 16 years old. I didn't think deeply at that age. Since I grew up in a family who sympathized with the PKK, I always wondered what it would be like living in the mountains. And I was interested in using weapons and being a fighter.
He also told us about the HDP and its links to the PKK.
Everyone knows the HDP supports the PKK. Even children know it. The main recruitment takes place at the HDP building in Diyarbakir. I witnessed this process, and I know the HDP helps many young people in the camps to join the PKK.
Since the protests began, 15 children have left the PKK and returned to their families in Turkey. This gives hope to the other parents, who say they'll continue their protest until all the missing children come home. Haydar Abbasi, Straight Talk, Diyarbakir.
And joining me now from Amsterdam is Selman Aksunger. He is a lecturer at the Istanbul Center of International Law. And on set, Resul Serdar, who is a senior fellow at the TRT World Research Center. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program, and Resul on you. So PKK and its Syrian offshoot, the YPG, continue to forcibly recruit children despite the backlash. And now we mark the first anniversary of sit-in protests by mothers who want their children abducted by the PKK be returned to them. What has changed so far, in your opinion?
Look, in that sense, I will say that what has changed mostly is psychological, and that is quite important because if one looks at the PKK's history and the history of its actions, they will see that they suppress almost everything, not only the opposition groups or any other movements or organizations that could be potentially alternative to PKK, but also suppress the people who live in the predominantly Kurdish majority cities as well. So in that sense, maybe for the first time in the history of this terrorist organization, some people, civilians, without any initiations from the state or any other supporters, organizations and so on, they just have done it because it was time for them to really to say enough is enough. Over the last 4 decades, PKK has recruited their children, and these children have been, these young people have been killed brutally, have been punished brutally by the organization itself. And for the mothers, particularly in that region, it was like the time of saying enough is enough.
So we know that there are countless bitter stories of Kurdish children in Turkey, and abduction is a widely used method for these terror organizations. I want to go to Selman. The UN Secretary General Guterres just a couple of months ago said in a report to the Security Council that the PKK's offshoot, YPG, has recruited hundreds of minors and used schools for military purposes. What is the motivation behind the terrorist group's recruitment of children? Is that an indication that they're losing their manpower?
Well, involvement of the children and conflict is a complex phenomenon, and some children enter the conflicts by voluntarily, driven by the promise or recruited through the violence and threats. And there are many reasons why they are used in conflicts. Usually, the shortage of the troop is used as an argument by commanders. And therefore, they use child soldiers instead of to fill their rank in the armies. But there are also other factors why children are attractive fighters, since they are obedient and they are easily to be manipulated and open to the dangerous assignments. And in case there are a collateral damage or a child soldier has been killed or wounded, then it's going to be easy for the terrorist organizations and other armed groups to manipulate these kind of situations. And some of the children also give strong incentives for the members of the PKK to maintain their control over the Kurdish society, because they're trying to keep their ties with their children, and the families are trying to maintain their link with their children. So they are trying to somehow maintain their relation with this organization.
So they're stuck in between.
Yeah, and sadly, 40% of the child soldiers are girls, And sadly, the combatants or the leaders sometimes use these girls as sex slaves.
Okay. So, Resul, according to latest figures, the PKK terror organization seems militarily to be on the brink of a defeat. Can you tell us about the changing tactics and how did we get this point?
Look, first, by starting by the 2016, Turkish security architecture has been changed dramatically. The new architecture has been formed, and apparently it is really working for Turkey, internally and externally as well. That is the first parameter for that. And second, in terms of psychological environment, lots of things has changed. Look at the mothers, they're just in the street and uttering their voices very much loudly. So psychologically also people, I would say that they broke down that all of the thick walls of the fears. And publicly, what they have done in the past and what they are doing now, it's being heard much better than before due to all of these communication tools and so on. That is the other parameter. Third, somehow we need to know that the technology is also letting the Turkish state to operate very much in the upper hands than the PKK. PKK has been almost stuck in the mountains now.
Yes.
And in the northern of the Syria, we have seen that there has been lots of major military incursion into Syria and the places that were under the control of the PKK-linked YPG as well. So militarily also they have been a little bit broken down in that sense.
All right, let's take a look into a legal perspective. Selman, last year, Virginia Gamba, the UN Secretary General's Special Representative on Children in Armed Conflicts, met in Geneva with Mazlum Kobani, known as a PKK-YPG terror leader, and signed a deal to end the recruitment of child soldiers. That means that the terror organization admitted to committing a war crime there. So could you give us an international legal framework on that deal?
All right. I think it has been a legally wrong method to improve or seek the compliance of PKK to respect the rules of law and also to the rights of children. Such action plans aren't treaties because they are not created between subjects of international law, such as states or international organizations, and they concluded between a representative of an international organization, which is UN Special Rapporteur, and a leader of a terrorist group. So certainly, this is not constituted as an international treaty under the Vienna Convention of Law of Treaty regime. And this view is also consistent with the decisions of the courts and tribunal. And let me give you a brief information about the Geneva Conventions, what the convention says about such deals, because such deals shall not affect the legal status of the parties.
Yes.
And this can be understood that the PKK has no international status there, neither in Syria nor in Iraq or Turkey. Whatever it may be and whatever title it may give themselves or they call themselves. So this view is, I think, consistent with international law, which has been also confirmed by Special Tribunal for Sierra Leone. And there are even stronger reasons why I believe that this is a legally wrong approach, which is including the states as the primary subjects of international law from that deal. Turkey, Iraq, Syria was not part of that deal,
yes,
that action plan.
So, Resul, Turkey is not fighting the PKK within its border or in the Middle East, but also in Europe, where the terror organization procures human resources, logistics, and financial support. What could Turkey could do to change the Western countries' governments and media's approach to the PKK fighters, because they are usually portrayed as oppressed freedom fighters?
That's true. And unfortunately, when it comes to the media, particularly recently, I will say that the Western media outlets or the Western media industry is not going through the fact-checking processes. And I think editorially, there is a real chronic problems, sloppy journalism. So it has to be very well taken care of that. That's why the figures regarding to the surveys and related to the Western media's credibility, you will see that just in 2016, a reliable survey saying that the credibility of the media has been dropped to 64, which means, to 36. So which means 64 people out of 100 do not believe what the Western media industry is saying. So believe that they are manipulating or lying. So that is, I will say, very much hurtful image for the media itself.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we are out of time. Selman, thank you very much for joining us from Amsterdam. And Resul, thank you very much for being on set with us. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for having us.
And that's all for this edition of Straight Talk with me, Ayşe Süberker. If you've got any comments, follow us and tweet us at Straight Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.